and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast. We're traveling into the realm of the DC comics tonight. We're doing 3 DC books this go round. Tonight's first book that we're going to be talking about is Batman Confidential 1 through 6, which I think the trade was called Rules of Engagement, parts 1 through 6. This was written by Andy Diggle, penciled by Whilce Portacio, which is a name that I recognize from my Image reading days, inked by Richard Friend, and colored by David Barron and ILL. Also, letters by Rob Lee and Travis Lanham. There you go. Okay. So this came out in 2007. Did you just see Batman and go, okay, I want this? Or was there anything else that spoke to you when you saw this on the shelf at the bookstore?
Yeah, I like Batman and I like Supergirl and I like the Joker Brian Azzarello book.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That sounds good. Andy Diggle. Ever heard of Andy Diggle at all?
I hear he gives you the big wiggle.
So wiggle. All right. Well, Rules of Engagement. Mark, I know I shared this with you already, but I did it for all 3 books. I took notes and I fed them into Chat GPT, and I let AI write the synopsis for all 3 of these books. So
the end is nigh. Jesse will no longer be needing guests to come on his podcast when he can just fucking Chat GPT, artificial intelligence himself a guest.
You damn right. Damn right.
I don't need to schedule Evan Bevan 6 months in advance, 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, because that's the only time he has available that he's willing to do it. I'll just fucking Chat GPT a guest.
That's right. Damn straight. AI can do it all. Rules of Engagement. In these 6 issues, thank you, ChatGPT, for the synopsis. In these 6 issues of the comic series, Batman finds himself facing various challenges and adversaries. The story begins with Batman encountering a masked murderer who mysteriously gets vaporized. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne's attempt to secure a defense contract for his Ogre units, which I don't know if we ever get an explanation as to what Ogre stands for, but Ogre... It is in the book? Okay, I might have missed it. Takes a dangerous turn when his rival bidder, Lex Luthor, narrowly escapes being crushed by one of Wayne's machines. As Batman investigates the situation, he realizes that the Ogre is targeting Luthor, who evades capture by going underground. The trail leads Batman to Wayne Tech. It also leads Jim Gordon to Wayne Tech. I think Batman already knew about this one. But the trail leads Batman to Wayne Tech, where the suspicious death of Dr. Underhay implicates Wayne's company. Batman discovers evidence suggesting that a LexCorp peacemaker may be responsible for Underhay's demise. Continuing his pursuit of the Ogre, Batman discovers the robot is being guided by a portion of Underhay's neural network seeking revenge against Luthor. Batman manages to extract the Ogre's memory cortex, hoping to find evidence connecting Luthor to Underhay's death. In his investigation, Batman infiltrates LexCorp and uncovers a file on Senator Crabtree, the decision maker for defense funding. Meanwhile, Luthor attempts to manipulate Crabtree into accepting his deal, but faces resistance. Luthor becomes aware of Batman's interference, and Gordon subsequently arrests Crabtree on charges of conspiracy to commit murder. To prove their innocence, Batman provides Gordon with a disc containing evidence he obtained from LexCorp. However, LexCorp ultimately wins the defense contract. As tensions escalate, Batman becomes the target of Luthor's vengeance. Luthor deploys a mechanized bat to track down Batman, leading to a confrontation in the Batcave. Batman emerges victorious with the assistance of Alfred, who destroys the mechanized bat. Luthor reveals his plan to take control of the defense robots from the government and declares martial law. The army launches an attack on Luthor's headquarters, Area 1, but faces strong resistance from the GI robots and a massive mech unit. Batman intervenes, using the Batwing to unleash. Now, this is a prototype like Batwing that was going to go and be mass-produced, but apparently, since the defense dollars went down the drain, he couldn't get it. So he's going to use it for himself. So uses the Batwing to unleash missiles and enters Area 1 on his bat cycle. Inside, Batman faces off against the GI robots and manages to infiltrate the control room. Luthor orders his henchmen to eliminate Batman, but Batman's resourcefulness prevails. He uploads the contents of a memory stick into the control center, causing the GI robots to self-terminate. The surprising twist occurs when Luthor is revealed to be a remotely piloted robot. Batman's actions have disrupted Luthor's plans, and the story reaches its climax with Luthor's defeat. In the aftermath, Bruce Wayne holds a charity dinner to announce the establishment of the Wayne Foundation, with Senator Crabtree as its chairman. These 6 issues present an action-packed narrative as Batman confronts dangerous adversaries, exposes a conspiracy, and ultimately ensures justice prevails. All straight from an AI, folks. Just fed off my notes. There you go. So that was a long one. I need to tell like ChatGPT to be like, okay, can you keep it to 2 paragraphs and see if it can do it? That was a long ass synopsis, longer than what I usually do.
I can't believe that you read that whole thing.
There you go. But there you go. That is it. That's what happens at Batman Confidential Rules of Engagement. So one of the things that kind of took me by surprise, I don't read DC a whole lot. I was reading a little bit at this time, but I wasn't picking up Batman. Definitely wasn't picking up Batman Confidential. I didn't realize that this was taking place in the early years of Batman. These are like right after year 1. That's one of the things I was like, I noticed that, we're dealing with a prototype Batwing. Bruce Wayne is getting out of using his money for, weapons and in a very, very Iron Man like, but instead
I had a
using
similar thought. I was like, this is Bruce Wayne by way of Tony Stark.
Absolutely. That's one of my first notes, is that I didn't realize that this was taking place in the early years of Batman, but you soon catch on that that's what's going on. You did say something to me while we were talking about this. You said this is your Batman, and I want you kind of to explain.
Yeah, I don't get off on this whole like Batman is a super soldier, Batman is a ninja, Batman is like punching his way through Gotham in like open fields and broad daylight. Like I don't really like that iteration of Batman. Like as much as I like the Tom King run on Batman, what I read of it, I only read a couple of the first trades. Like I never made it to like City of Bane. In fact, we talked about this. I read up to the wedding, and the wedding pissed me off so badly. I was like, I was done with comics.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Can't Bruce Wayne have a happy ending? No, apparently he can't.
No.
Fuck DC Comics. But I like Detective Batman. I like the Batman who can scrap in a fight, but that's not really what he's doing. He is solving crime. You sent me the image, and you sent it because of the art, but I actually like the concept of like Batman, like kind of the way he is in Chris Nolan's Batman. He fills in the gaps where the police can't do their job. Mm-hmm. They are restricted in some way. They are bound by the law, ethics, what have you. So Batman is like, the cards are always stacked against the police. So I'm going to be their guardian angel, as it were. And, I think he said something to the effect of like, well, the law forbids you from doing that. Yeah, but not me. If the law forbids us from going after them out of jurisdiction. He's like, not me. And that actually happens in The Dark Knight. He goes to fucking China to get somebody, like extradite him essentially, because the Chinese government won't do it, and we can't make them. I like that Batman. I like the Batman that is essentially like a cross between Sherlock Holmes and a street tough. And so what's happening, so this is like year 1 Batman or year 2 Batman, where he's not solving like these gigantic, ridiculous Joker-esque problems just yet. He's still dealing with the mob. He's dealing with smaller crimes. He's still trying to deal with the corruption of Gotham, and he has to like find clues. Like if you ever watched the 60s Batman, so much of that show was Adam West and Burt Ward collecting clues to figure out what the villain's plot was, what their plan was, and then when they had it, they'd go after him. The cops couldn't figure out what to do with the clues the Riddler left, that kind of a thing. I like the Batman that like collects things, and The Dark Knight dealt with this too. It's just like, I need a few minutes alone with the crime scene before your men corrupt it, or whatever it was he said. That's great, and that's this book. The point. I went a long way of saying that Batman Rules of Engagement, or Batman Confidential, is Batman on the street where you like him, Jesse, where you like him. Oh yeah, you like the street level guys.
You dang right I do.
I walked with you once upon a dream. I like that he's in the street collecting clues, trying to figure shit out, and he's not just fighting a bunch of nameless goons all the time. So this is my Batman.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, just like you said, with it being early Batman, it seems like that this was the first meeting between Batman and Luthor. You could tell because Batman wasn't like immediately on Luthor's stuff. Like he knew Luthor was so full of crap. That's not the case. They initially they're businessmen trying to get this contract, but Lex Luthor's pretty big villain to be going up against here for sure. what you're going to see here as you listen to us when we do these 3 episodes, you're going to notice a common theme when it comes to at least the villain in most of the books.
I was going to say, if Batman is Tony Stark in this book, Luthor is just Hammer.
Okay, yeah, it's going to be a thorn in his side, but Lex Luthor goes for it all here. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm taking control of I know you guys have gave me all the money that I need to create all these robots, and now that the government believes that they have control, I'm afraid I'm going to let them know that no, they do not. I have control of these, and he just takes off going after military installations, missile silos. So if there was any question about Lex Luthor being a good guy versus a bad guy, by the end of this book, Bruce Wayne knows that Lex Luthor is definitely a bad guy. And it's funny because at the end, like when all is said and done, Lex Luthor gets off by saying that he was at a hair clinic in Sweden. Everybody, and he is going to sue the army for defamation. So he's trying to put it on the armies. It's interesting to see how scheming Lex Luthor can be. Yeah, that was my other note here, was like Lex Luthor up to his tricks. I mean, he's wow. Again, one of the common themes is that he's believing that what he is doing is protecting humanity from these gods that come in here, these superheroes that can, wipe out cities. He feels that he is the only person that can take care of that. It's not on display here, but when we talk about Brian Azzarello's Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, it's definitely on display there about how, his motivations and things of that nature. So yeah, seeing Lex Luthor here in the first 6 issues and that him being the primary antagonist in this book was pretty interesting. Whilst Portasio doing art, I just kind of want to step in and say again, I remember him from the Image days. I do remember him from some of the early Marvel days. I think like late 80s, early 90s Punisher is where I remember first seeing his art. And I loved it back then. And it just feels like it kind of, I don't know, it feels like he's kind of missed a step here. This is only 2007, so it could also be the inker. I have no idea. Sometimes when you see some art, the inker can make things not look the greatest. But I didn't hate the art. And I think you said it was readable. You had no problems with it, right?
Yeah, I didn't mind the art at all.
Okay. All right. That's all my notes I've got on this thing. What do you have? What were your thoughts here? Anything else you'd like to talk about?
Like I said, I like Luthor is traditionally a Superman villain, but I like him like playing off of Bruce Wayne here. I also like that they focused on Bruce Wayne as a character. What gets lost, I think, in modern Batman especially, is that Bruce Wayne, Batman, depending on the iteration we're talking about, sometimes gets portrayed to be a little too sullen, a little too depressed, a little too stoic. Yeah. And Bruce Wayne was an eccentric. Much like Tony Stark, again, there was a lot of similarities between Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark. He had some class to him. He obviously, having come up wealthy and all of that, like he knew which spoon to use and which fork to use at the table. For the longest time, there was this interpretation of Batman, like, oh, billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne. Like, the man knew how to have fun. And I like that that's kind of how he's portrayed in this book. I think over the years, there was too much focus on Batman and, and the nuttiness of the villains that he was dealing with, and not enough focus on what is this person like? Who is Bruce Wayne? What does he do? What does he like? How does he behave? Batman is his way of engaging in a world that he felt betrayed by. This world took his parents from him, which he never truly understood why. Why did it have to be that way? They have all of this wealth and they have all of this prestige. Why did they fall victim to a street crime? Because before they started injecting all this other bullshit into Batman's origin, they just got mugged and killed. Yeah. It could have happened to anybody. Went down a dark alley looking like rich people in a city full of crime. Oops. Yep. So you have, young Bruce Wayne just like, why me? Why did this happen to me? And Batman is his way of like engaging in the world that he felt like betrayed him, as opposed to just being like the center of his universe where he's just obsessed with crime and punching people. It's like, I really hate that interpretation of Batman. This one felt like he was more of a person. So Bruce Wayne's trying to do a thing. He's trying to get a deal done. He's competing with Lex Luthor, and even Lex Luthor, by comparison, like we're going to see in the Brian Azzarello book that we're going to talk about later on a future podcast, hint, hint, where Luthor is just fucking obsessed with Superman. There's this element of Luthor where he cannot handle competition. He cannot handle there being anyone better than him. He has such like a frail ego in that sense, where Like anyone that like challenges him and he just completely unravels and they have to fucking go. They just have to be eliminated. And then Superman comes along and he can't eliminate him. Like he's too powerful. There shall be no one above me. And then God comes down and like, well, I'm above you. I should like to remind you that I exist.
Yeah.
And Luthor's like, I don't want to deal with God. And I'm going to find a way not to. That's not this Luthor. This Luthor is like, I want to sell guns to the government. This guy is my competition. I'm going to fuck him so that I can sell guns to the government, essentially. I know it's a little more complicated than all that, but he's like, I have this plan to bop the man, and I'm going to do it, and I think I should do it because I want to be rich.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that Luthor. I like just scumbag CEO Luthor, who's like, Eddie Guerrero, like a lot of lie, cheat, and steal, so I can be the top guy.
Right.
I don't remember. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it didn't seem like he was as megalomaniacal as he gets written in other books. Here, he's just like, no, I just want to win.
Yeah.
That's it. I want to win, and you're in my way.
I want to jump back to what you were talking about with Bruce Wayne. We get to see a lot more of him here. The beginning of this book and the end of this book are really related to each other, because at the beginning of this book, we don't get the rehash, like, as people love to make fun of the Batman movies, of why he is the Batman. But we do get a reminder when, the first case that he's working on, the case that starts this all off, is there is a woman who gets beat to death in her apartment, and it leaves a small kid. So there's an orphan now. By the end of the book, Senator Crabtree has adopted this orphan. There was allegations that it was his, and Lex Luthor did a bunch of stuff to drag Senator Crabtree's name through the mud so he could get the defense contract. But anyway, at the end of the book, that's kind of what, Bruce Wayne is reminded of what happened to him, and he also makes a decision to put his money for some good, because he needed something like that in his life when he was a kid. He needed somebody to come in. So he did the Wayne Foundation, the orphanage. And that's kind of how we end the book, is with Bruce Wayne being like, hey, this happened to me, and I want to use my power and my money to make sure that the others that this has happened to are taken care of. That's a good bit of an arc there. All right. Anything else, ma'am?
No, if you got nothing, I'm good.
All right, dude, there it is. That right there is Batman Confidential 1-6 Rules of Engagement. This right here is the Source Material Comics feed that you're listening to this podcast on. Most likely, you go back into the archive and listen to all sorts of Source Material Comics podcasts. Mark and I have done 3 books that usually have a theme pretty consistently here for the past few months. Mark mentioned crime noir. We got some books based on metal bands. And of course, our last trilogy was a Marvel trilogy. And now we're into DC. So if you feel froggy, go back and jump into those. Check those out. And then also I do a 90s-centric comics podcast, which is called Unspoken Issues. We're having all sorts of fun. Now, when this airs, there's a very good possibility that we will have another epic podcast similar to our Unity coverage, but this time we're going to do Reign of the Supermen. That's right. Get ready, folks. Superman is on his way back, and we're going to be talking about it. So that is my plugs. Mark Radlich, what do you got? Take us home.
Check out our landing page, w2mnet.com. That's w2mnetwork.com if you're Googling it. Check out my TikTok, at Mark Radlich. We have a Facebook page, the Radlich and Broadcasting Network. My personal Facebook page is Mark Radlich, LCSW, where we also promote podcasts. My Twitter is at Mark Radlich. There's all kinds of ways to engage with the show. When we do the podcast, we put them all on StreamYard. They stream to Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Our YouTube page is w2mnet.com. Yet again, W2M Network. All of our podcasts are there. We can be found on any one of your podcatchers. Spreaker is where we start them, but they feed out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify. They don't do fucking Stitcher anymore, I'll tell you that much.
No, in the trash.
TuneIn Radio. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you will find us. Just about every Tuesday, there's a Damn You Hollywood. It's whatever the newest movie in theaters are, and the occasional streaming movie. So whenever, I'm not sure when this is going to air just exactly, but we've covered since the beginning of the summer Guardians of the Galaxy, Fast X, Little Mermaid. By this point, we'll have done Indiana Jones, and Chris Bailey will cry. Mission Impossible. So if you're into wanting to hear us complain about new movies, please go ahead and check out our Damn You Hollywood podcast. I've been doing a lot of television. Jesse and I do a monthly look back at the David Simon stuff. We're currently up to, I think it's Show Me a Hero. We did Treme, The Wire, The Corner, the last 3 seasons of Homicide, plus the movie. We got The Plot Against America coming up, 3 seasons of The Deuce. So go ahead and check those out when you have a chance. Generation Kill, that was another one that we did. And then next year, I'm going to make Jesse do all seasons with, we're going to get the band back together. It's going to be him, me, and Ronnie, and we're going to be doing Sons of Anarchy. But wait, there's more. We did the Wu-Tang Clan show. I'm getting everybody back in the mix. Sean Comer and I did gay shit, Jesse. Did you know that?
I heard.
Did you know Sean Comer and I were doing gay shit in the month of June because it was Pride Month?
I heard. So I heard.
And this past July, we did shark shit. See, February we do black shit. June we do gay shit. July we do shark shit.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Back when we used to have like Wolverine week. It's not like that anymore. We now are just gonna call it Wolverine shit.
Wolverine, yeah, we're gonna do Wolverine shit.
Oh, that's great.
And eventually you and I are gonna do some Christmas shit.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Sir. All right, so go ahead and check that out. Any one of the socials. We put up the best 10 minutes or the first 10 minutes, whatever you like, on TikTok, on my personal TikTok. So if 2 hours of a podcast is a little too much for you, a little too much podcast for you, check out my TikTok at Mark Radulich for the best 10 minutes of any show that I've done the past year or two.
This has been the Source Material Comics podcast coverage of Batman Confidential. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. All of this would not be possible without W2Mnet.com, so make sure to seek them out for more podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please feel free to share, and we look forward to entertaining you again soon.
It's the penis grabbing podcast is what it is.
Oh my goodness. Grab a penis. Let's go. So
I feel like our trios are getting dumber and less interesting as we do this. Jesse, here's some shit I bought at Ollie's.
Let's do it.
Travis, get him, Jim.
Oh boy, mathcore.
What are we doing? Some mathcore books, yo?
The calculator's actually in a later book, but who was it that used to do the wiggle?
Big Wiggle? It was Norman Smiley.
Norman Smiley! Yes,
Norman
indeed.
Smiley with his sneakers and his sassy walk.
Things
that's right. I told you to do it, then probably forgot about it because I know what the fuck you were talking about.
Have you ever messed with ChatGPT at all?
I have not, because this is how the machines start launching new. I'm excited about this. I'm going to start working on my questions now during this podcast.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
They try to keep all those motherfuckers in the closet, Jesse. What happened to my life? I used to have a house, and in that house was a computer.
I remember that.
And I would do podcasts from there, and I would be surrounded by loved ones and some people who didn't like me very much. And I'm now like living out of bags and working in closets and shit. I'm gonna be like Chris Bailey and starting to do these podcasts from a fucking alley outside my job.